Hey, I need to talk to you about the burglary nearby.
Yeah, that was 2 blocks over. I live here.
Right. And how long exactly have you lived at this address?
3 years. Why are you asking me that?
Neighbors describe someone matching your description. Step outside.
Police harass black homeowner at his own door. Bodycam changes everything. Officer Derek Mills pulled up to a brick house on a Thursday afternoon in September. His bodycam was rolling. He had a mission. Well, that's what he told himself. He knocked on the door with the kind of knock that says you have authority. The man who answered had no idea this moment would change everything. Mills said he was investigating a burglary 2 blocks away. The homeowner said he lived there and had nothing to do with it. Mills didn't believe him. Neighbors described someone matching your description, Mills said. But here's the problem. No neighbors had actually given that description. Mills was making assumptions based on one thing only. The homeowner was black. In the next 72 hours, this 10-minute conversation would explode into 2.3 million views online. Mills would face a federal civil rights complaint. His department would launch an investigation, and a suspended officer would have to answer for what he did. But before all that happened, Officer Mills had no idea who he was really confronting. Before I continue, let me ask you this. Have you ever been stopped or treated unfairly by someone with power? Type your answer in the comments. I want to hear your stories. The man at the door was named Marcus Washington. He wasn't just a homeowner. He was a paralegal with 12 years of experience in civil rights law. Marcus worked at the Community Justice Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. He had helped 47 families fight against police misconduct. He understood the law better than most lawyers. Marcus had studied constitutional rights his whole career. He knew exactly what Fourth Amendment protections meant. He knew what probable cause looked like, and he knew what racial profiling looked like because he had fought against it for over a decade. 3 years earlier, Marcus had bought this house in Dilworth on purpose. He wanted to support the neighborhood. He believed in the community, but Marcus had also installed security cameras. He had trained himself to record police interactions. He had seen too many people wronged by the system. He knew it could happen to him. On September 14th, 2023, Marcus was just working from home. He had no idea his expertise was about to matter more than ever. Now here's what happened next. Officer Derek Mills had a reputation in the Charlotte Police Department, and it wasn't a good one. Mills had been a cop for 11 years. In that time, he faced 23 complaints from people he had stopped. 17 of those complaints were about racial profiling. Every single one followed the same pattern. Mills would stop someone. He would claim they matched a description. He would escalate quickly if they asked questions, and he would never document clear reasons for the stop. In 2017, Mills stopped a black customer leaving a convenience store. Why? The man matched a description of a robbery suspect. No charges were filed. In 2019, Mills stopped a black resident in his own parking lot. He claimed someone reported suspicious activity. No evidence of anything wrong was found. The other officers in the precinct had a nickname for Mills. They called him the description guy. It was a joke about how he always used vague descriptions to justify stops. Despite all these complaints, Mills had never been suspended. He had never faced real consequences. The system had protected him every time, but September was different. Type justice in the comments if you think officers should face real consequences for racial profiling. Thursday, September 14th, 2023, 2:47 in the afternoon, Charlotte, North Carolina, a warm early fall day. The street was quiet. Kids played in yards, people worked on their homes. Marcus Washington was inside his brick colonial house. He had been working on civil rights cases all morning. Around 2:30 he took a break. He checked his security cameras. It was just a habit, nothing special. Then he heard the knock, not a normal knock, a heavy knock. An official knock, the kind that says someone with power is at your door. Marcus opened the door and saw Officer Mills. Mills had his hand near his belt. His bodycam was already recording. Mills said he needed to talk about a burglary on the street. Marcus told him the burglary happened 2 blocks over. Marcus said he lived here. He had lived here for 3 years, but something in Mills' voice felt wrong. Mills said neighbors described someone matching Marcus's description. Marcus knew immediately this wasn't routine. This was suspicion. This was profiling. Marcus made a choice in that moment. He would stay calm. He would comply with his rights. He would let the cameras record everything. If you think stories like this matter to you, hit subscribe. We are going to keep exposing these patterns. Mills said, neighbors described someone matching your description. Marcus asked, what description? I live here. What did they actually say? Mills replied, male, black in the area. Look, I'm just doing my job. It'll be easier if you cooperate. Marcus said, I understand, but I haven't done anything. I don't think I need to leave my house. Mills said, I'm not asking, I'm telling you, step outside now. Marcus said, am I being detained? Do you have probable cause? Mills said, you're making this difficult, and that's not helping you right now. Marcus said, I know my rights. I'm not stepping outside. You can speak to me here or you can leave. I'm not consenting to a search. Mills said, that's what I'm talking about. You're being difficult. Guilty people don't know all about their rights. Marcus said, I'm not doing anything. I'm in my home. I haven't committed a crime. I want you to leave. Mills said, you know what? I can stand right here and call for backup. We can do this the easy way or the hard way, your choice. Mills stepped closer. His hand moved toward his belt. His voice got harder. He was using intimidation tactics, proximity threats, implicit physical threat. The neighbor across the street stopped watering plants. Another neighbor emerged with her phone. A third came to his porch. Everyone recognized the pattern. They had seen it before, but what Mills didn't know was that 3 cameras were recording everything. Marcus's front door camera, Marcus's porch camera, Mills's own bodycam, every word. Every gesture, every implication. Let me know what you think about how Marcus handled this. Comment below. After 25 minutes of confrontation, Marcus made a decision. He told Mills, I'm going to call my attorney. You can wait or you can leave, but this conversation is over. Mills reacted badly. He said, you calling a lawyer for what? What are you hiding? Marcus said something that changed everything. I'm hiding nothing. I'm protecting myself, and I'm also a paralegal who specializes in civil rights law, so I know exactly what I'm looking at right now. Mills's face changed. The nervous homeowner he thought he was dealing with wasn't nervous at all. This was someone who understood the system, someone who understood the law, someone who knew how to fight back. Mills suddenly looked uncertain. For the first time, he didn't have the advantage. Marcus continued, I know that you need probable cause for a stop. I know that you need either my consent or a warrant to enter my home. I know that matching a vague description is not enough reason for this. And I know that your bodycam is recording right now. Everything you've said and done is documented. The neighbors knew what they saw. Angela Morrison from across the street said, I saw the whole thing from my yard. Mills never showed a warrant. He never explained the actual description. It was clear he was racial profiling. I called 911 to report this. Robert Chen, 3 houses down, said, I came outside when I heard the raised voices. Mills was blocking the doorway. Marcus stayed calm the whole time. Mills was the one escalating. I recorded the last 10 minutes on my phone. Keisha Williams, next door, said, this is the second time in 2 months I've seen Mills target a black resident. I'm tired of this pattern. By 3:15 in the afternoon, there were 4 separate recordings. Marcus's front camera, Marcus's porch camera, Mills's bodycam, Robert Chen's phone video. Angela Morrison had also called 911 at 3:08 to report a potentially illegal stop. That call was time-stamped and recorded. At 3:18, dispatch received the 911 call. This triggered a protocol. When a police conduct complaint happens during the actual stop, a supervisor must respond in 10 minutes. Mills realized around 3:20 that this was a major problem. He changed his tone, no longer demanding, now trying to sound casual, but it was too late. The recordings existed, the witnesses had seen it, the pattern was established. Marcus remained calm. He said, I think this conversation is over, officer. My attorney has been notified. I'm not consenting to anything. You need to leave my property. At 3:25, Mills left. He drove away in his patrol car. What he didn't understand was that his worst day was just beginning. Wait until you hear what happened next. Within 30 minutes, Marcus had backed up all his footage to the cloud. He called his attorney at Community Justice Center. He filed a formal complaint with the police department's Internal Affairs Division. He compiled a complete timeline with screenshots from all the bodycam footage. By 4:15 in the afternoon, the Internal Affairs Division had been notified. A senior investigator named Captain Sarah Mitchell was assigned to the case. By 6 o'clock, all footage had been collected. The investigation officially began. Captain Mitchell reviewed the evidence. She checked Mills' official account against what the footage showed. Mills claimed he was responding to a specific burglary report where neighbors described a suspect, but the actual dispatch record showed something different. The original 911 call about the burglary made no mention of any suspect description. Mills had received a general alert. No specific information, no neighbor interviews, no description details. The investigation proved Mills made up his reason for the stop. Mills also claimed Marcus was being uncooperative and evasive, but the video showed Marcus remained calm. He spoke clearly. He stated he lived at the address. He answered questions. Marcus only refused to leave his home without legal justification. That is not evasion. That is asserting constitutional rights. Mills claimed this was just standard police procedure, but the investigation found something else. Mills faced 23 complaints in 8 years. 17 involved racial profiling. This was not standard. This was a pattern, a clear pattern of targeting black people without real cause. By 7 o'clock that evening, Mills was told an investigation had opened. He submitted a written statement claiming he was just doing community policing. He said Marcus became confrontational and threatened legal action, but the bodycam footage contradicted everything. Mills's own camera showed him starting the confrontation, Mills escalating the threat level, Mills becoming frustrated when Marcus asserted his rights. Meanwhile, Marcus spent the evening with his attorney. They reviewed all the footage. They prepared the civil rights complaint. Marcus was shaken. Despite his expertise and preparation, being profiled in his own home was traumatic. His sense of safety had been violated. He texted his family that night. "I was profiled today. It was bad, but we got it on camera. We're going to fight it." If you think officers like Mills should face real discipline, hit subscribe. We are going to keep fighting for accountability. On September 15th, Marcus made a decision. He would release the footage publicly, not to be famous, to document, to protect others. At 9:30 in the morning, he uploaded to YouTube, "Police harassment in Dilworth, Officer Derek Mills racial profiling." By 10:15, 47 views. By 11:30, 8,400 views. People were sharing it. Local news outlets were being tagged. By 1 o'clock, WCNC Charlotte reached out for a statement. By 6 o'clock, the video had 340,000 views. By midnight, 890,000 views across all platforms. By 72 hours, 2.3 million views. CNN, MSNBC, and NBC all covered the story. Dilworth justice trended on Twitter. Living while black trended. Justice for Marcus trended. Comments poured in from people with similar stories. A teacher said, "I've seen Mills stop young black men 3 times in 1 year for matching descriptions. This proves it's real." A civil rights attorney said, "This is a textbook Fourth Amendment violation. No probable cause, no legal basis, just profiling." A community activist said, "This video proves what we've known. Being black in your own neighborhood makes you a suspect." The police department tried to respond. They said Mills was under investigation. They claimed they were committed to fair policing. Mills's attorney said the video was being taken out of context. The police union said they supported Mills and thought he was doing his job. None of it worked. The bodycam footage was clear. Mills had documented his own guilt. He couldn't claim the video was edited. He couldn't claim he was protecting anyone. He couldn't claim Marcus was threatening. The footage contradicted every excuse. By midnight on September 17th, the story was everywhere. Type if you've shared this story with someone. Let me know in the comments. On September 18th, Marcus filed a formal civil rights complaint with the U.S. Department of Justice. He also filed with the North Carolina Attorney General. The complaint alleged 4 things. First, a Fourth Amendment violation. Mills stopped him without probable cause. Second, racial discrimination under the Civil Rights Act. Third, a pattern of discriminatory policing by Mills. Fourth, negligent training and supervision by the police department. 2 days later, the North Carolina Attorney General opened a criminal investigation. They considered charging Mills with assault under a North Carolina law. This law makes it a crime for a government official to abuse their power to intimidate or threaten citizens. Once the investigation expanded, the full scope of Mills's conduct became clear. Investigators obtained all 23 prior complaints against Mills. They got bodycam footage from 34 additional stops he had conducted. They analyzed demographic data. Mills had stopped black people in 89% of his stops. The neighborhood was only 52% black. This was statistically significant racial disparity. Other officers called him the description guy in internal messages. Mills had received racial bias training in 2019. It had no effect on his behavior. Settlement negotiations began in October. The police department offered $15,000. Marcus's attorney said no. "This insults Mr. Washington. This is the cost of one incident, not an 11-year pattern." The city offered $45,000 in October. The attorney said training isn't consequence. A man can't train away deliberate discrimination. On November 28th, they reached a final settlement. Marcus received $125,000 in damages. The city paid an additional $75,000 in legal fees. Total cost to Charlotte, $200,000. But there was more. Mills was suspended for 90 days without pay. He received mandatory retraining in constitutional law and racial bias recognition. He had to undergo psychological evaluation. He went on 2 years probation with monthly reviews. All his disciplinary records went into his permanent file. In December, the North Carolina Attorney General charged Mills with criminal violation of rights under color of law. It was a misdemeanor charge. Mills eventually pleaded guilty. He admitted in court to violating Marcus's constitutional rights. The guilty plea was crucial. It meant the courts agreed Mills had done something wrong. Mills received a suspended sentence and probation. He essentially admitted to racial profiling. Here's the question: did consequences happen fast enough? Or did it take a viral video to make the system work? Comment your thoughts. On December 15th, Marcus gave an interview at the Community Justice Center. 3 months after September 14th, he was calm but clear. He said, "For 3 months after that day, I didn't feel safe opening my front door. I have a 4-year-old nephew who visits sometimes. Before that day, he used to run to the window excitedly when police drove by. Now he hides. That's what profiling does. It teaches children that people who should protect you are a threat. That's trauma. That doesn't go away with money." Marcus continued, "I've spent 12 years working on civil rights cases. I helped families fight police misconduct, but I always had separation. It was their case, not my life. September 14th erased that separation. It made clear that expertise doesn't protect you. Education doesn't protect you. Buying a nice home doesn't protect you. Being black in America means you're always one interaction away from being treated like a suspect." He said something important for workers. "To every person working a job where you deal with the public, you deserve respect. You deserve to be treated as a human being. If someone is treating you disrespectfully, if someone is abusing their power, that is not acceptable. Document it, report it. Know that people will stand with you." Marcus talked about what he wanted. "I don't want Officer Mills to be destroyed. I want a system where what happened to me doesn't happen to anyone else. I want police departments serious about accountability. I want training that actually changes behavior. I want my neighborhood to feel like home again." His closing words were powerful. Officer Mills could have treated me with respect as a homeowner and a citizen. Instead, he chose to profile me. But he didn't account for one thing. He didn't account for me being ready. This case proves accountability works, but only if the system is forced to provide it. This case exposed something bigger than one officer. The Stanford Open Policing Project analyzed 100 million traffic stops. Black Americans are 3 times more likely to be stopped than white Americans. In Charlotte specifically, the racial disparity is even worse. Black residents face racial profiling at higher rates than the national average. Mills's pattern was extreme but not unique. Many officers face multiple complaints without real discipline. Research shows implicit bias training alone doesn't change behavior without accountability and consequences. The real problem is structural. Police departments protect their own. The legal system is slow, and consequences require documentation and attention. Most victims never get either. So let me ask you, if a paralegal with 12 years of experience and home security cameras can barely fight racial profiling, what happens to a teenager with no legal knowledge and no resources? How many people are stopped and harassed without any documentation or way to prove it happened? If Officer Mills faced 23 complaints before consequences, how many officers in your city have faced 5 complaints or 10 complaints without real discipline? Because if we don't address the structural bias that empowered Mills, if we don't create real consequences for racial profiling, if we don't demand transparency from police departments, then we're just waiting for the next officer, the next victim, the next violation. Comment below if you believe Officer Mills should have been fired completely, not just suspended. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these patterns. We're going to keep demanding better. We're going to keep fighting for police accountability and for dignity. This isn't just about one officer or one September afternoon. It's about all of us and the system we accept. See you in the next one.